Hello everyone! Welcome to King and Fawn Unmatched Character Deck Analysis, a first of many. Today we're diving into the Raptors' character deck, personally my favorite character in all of Unmatched. Whether you're a seasoned player or just starting out and trying out characters that you want to play, this may be the video for you. I would be sharing my thoughts, analysis, and personal biases for this lovely character. While Fawn will be making her own deck analysis pretty soon, and I think it would spark interest for those Slings and Arrows fans. I love unorthodox characters. I love left field strats, and I love playing with my favorites because it's fun. And I'm an advocate of that, especially with the saying, if you don't know what you're doing, neither is your opponent. People in the Unmatched community pretty much have forgotten about the Raptors in the meta. It's because they are frail, most of the time defenseless, and on paper, having 3 bodies with 7 HP seems like a lot of help, but it's really not. 21 HP in total is good, but it's not surprising that 1 or even 2 Raptors might leave the board. But I don't care. I love the character, I love how they play, and of course, I love dinosaurs. Rar, rar, rar. So let's start with their ability. Raptors add 1 to the value of their attack cards for each of your other Raptors adjacent to the defender. You have your Golden Bats, Eridin, Alice, and Achilles with their own specific condition to get that bonus plus damage, and with your Raptors, it's pretty much the same. Your goal is to pin the prey or flank them or surround them to get the most value out of your cards and maximize all damage. This ability suits the character well, and it's a no-brainer. They're clever girls and pack hunters after all. Mind you that the Raptors have a card spread of 16 attacks, 6 versatiles, and 4 blue defenses, and 4 schemes. The ability is just straight up telling you to go straight for fatality. So let's start with my own personal take on the cards in the deck of Raptors, my favorite character of all time. So let's start with 2 copies of coordinated attack pattern. So this card is basically a teleport or a free pass or a free action, free pass in the turn, but it's actually useless offensively. So it's better if you could just maneuver and boost and then attack your opponent rather than using this as to teleport your other 2 cards or your other 2 Raptors to somewhere closer to your opponent where you can already pin them. So I think it's better if you could just rather maneuver and boost than using this to teleport or to move your fighters closer to your opponent. But it can be used for, if you can't boost, it's an option. So that's how it goes sometimes. But it's used more often than as a passive turn for you to reload, to escape, to teleport out if you're in a bad position in the game. This is, for me, the worst deck or the worst card in the deck of Raptors. Let's move on to, I know this might be controversial for some, but I put Feint as one of the lowest tiers in the deck. I use this sometimes to attack. It can be up to a value of 4. It's primarily used for escaping big value after combats or the cards that have after combat movement effects. So let's say your skirmishes, Houdini cards that move you 3 spaces, those types of cards with movement. Sometimes I use this as an attack, so I just put it in the lowest of the B tier and the highest of C tier. I don't know if that makes sense, but Feint is a great card in general. You have 3 copies of this, but I think it's more used for a utility rather than using it defensively or offensively. So it depends on the matchup on how you use your feints. Well, you also have to remember that Raptors only have 10 cards in the deck for defenses, so this makes up for 3 out of 10. And then you have to be very, very careful in using Feint because sometimes it can also bite you in the butt. Most of the time also, you only have like low hand count for both of you and your opponent, so it's good to have a Feint in hand for defenses, or it's also good to have Feint as an attack to also bait out feints of your opponent. So you have to be ready for the timing of skirmishes, for the timing of other cards with movement effects, because that would be the bane of your existence if you're playing Raptors offensively. And then let's move up to B tier. The worst attack card that the Raptors have is Disengage. So Disengage is similar to Bigfoot. So Bigfoot also has this card. You have 2 copies similar to him. You can have a potential 6 with the ability. So you have to always remember the ability of your Raptors. But you only teleport 1 Raptor at a time. So if you use this card to attack with 1 Raptor, the other 2 Raptors will not join you in the disengage. So it's just the primary attacker that would teleport out of the adjacency of the opponent. So you have to be careful when using this one, because it's oftentimes that if you use this as the second attack, you're vulnerable to the others. Your other 2 Raptors, your other 1 Raptor would be vulnerable for another attack from your opponent. So you can be easily slapped out of the board if you use this incorrectly. But I often use this as a bait feint, and it can actually set up tempo. It can build your momentum. It can actually be good for you when you're trying to reload. So after you attack, even with just 1 Raptor, you can just teleport out and then, okay, let's regroup, guys. Let's get cards back. Let's draw 2 for 2 turns or 1 turn, and then let's go back to attack. So that's what I use disengage for. And then the next card of the deck, I would put this one. They remember. So this is basically your deck engine. This is basically what makes you run through the entire game. So 4 copies of 2 red value is not good, but that's okay, because you have your ability. It can go up to +1, +2, or even a lot more if you have the Hanging Gardens map. So you can have that, or even you can use the Marvel items in their map. So this card is really great because this is actually what you want your opponents to feint. And also another card that we're going to be talking about later. But this card is basically everything in the Raptors deck. It's basically everything that you need to win. It's basically everything you need to use to gain the tempo, to gain momentum, to put pressure on your opponents. Because the lower card count that you have, the less cards that you have, the less cards for defenses or even attacks that your opponent can have. Some players are very adamant in attacking again with Raptors even after they just took like 3 to 4 damage last turn. So they want at least 1 Raptor to easily go out of the board or die, because the less Raptors, the less threatening you are. But some players would also just try to regroup or run away. So if you have, for example, a 5 card count in the first position, you're gonna maneuver boost attack your opponent using this card as your second action. So most likely they want to feint it because they know it would be a gaining action card. But most of the time, they don't have the feint. So you already pinned your character, or you pinned your opponent. You use this as an attack with a +1 or +2. You maybe deal 1 or 2 damage from it. You gain an action. And then that sets up you with a card count of, I think you're gonna be the same with your opponent with 4. If you're starting the first position, so you maneuver, you have 6, boost, attack, so you both have 4, and then you just keep on attacking relentlessly until your opponent has nothing to defend with. Most of the time, if you're playing against Raptors, you would want to have 3 to 4 cards as defenses on the start of your turn, or versatile cards, because you need to defend with Raptors, because you're just gonna take everything, die in about 3 to 4, up to 5, 6 turns, and then that's it. You can't counterattack, you can't engage your playstyle, you can't engage your strategy because you're already dead. And also, you have to be wary of some cards that are combo breakers, like skirmishes, like what I said earlier. So movement cards are your bane it's the bane of your existence when you're using the Raptors or any other card that the Raptors play against your opponent. Skirmish feints are the ones that you have to be careful. So the next card would be another scheme. And this is a great card in setting up tempo. This would be working things out. So you have 2 copies of this. So basically, this is your free action game. You can move through opposing opponents. So that's really good. So even if they, let's say, have meat shields or have sidekicks or have other characters that are blocking the way, so that the Raptors won't have their perfect adjacent pinning, so they don't have the best use of the ability, you can move through opposing fighters using this card. So this is a great card. It's amazing in your starting hand. Free movement 3, gaining an action, so you can go closer, use the second action for a maneuver to get 5 cards again, and then you attack. And then preferably you would want to use They Remember or other action gaining cards in the deck that would keep pressure on, because the Raptors are already here. So movement of 3 is already good, but another move 3 from this scheme alone tells the entire story of the game sometimes. So basically, you just move 6 spaces, and then you attack, and then you attack again, and then you attack. As long as you keep the pressure on, your opponent won't have any answer to you. So this card is great in your starting hand. And next, we have here a great card. It's basically They Remember, but stronger by 1 value. So Clever Girl is similar to They Remember by gaining an action after you attack. So it has conditions of if 1 or more Raptors are adjacent to your opponent, you gain an action. So it's basically just They Remember but better. So this could go to up to 5 value if you attack, and then you take 2, take 1, and then you gain an action, and then you attack again. So even if this was fainted, it's okay because you're already dealing with at least 1 damage from 3 of the 3 value. But if you have the ability with you, that ability can't be fainted. So imagine taking a 5 value attack and then you use a feint. So it's okay that you didn't gain an action, but at least you dealt 3 damage. Next card, we have Decoy. So Decoy is a love-hate relationship that I have with this card, because you can easily set up your counter attacks using this card because it's a free teleport. Yeah, a teleport that you can set up your counter attack. You don't have to use an action for maneuver to go closer to your opponent, but instead you can use this as a defense, because more often than not, your opponents would love to hit you back after you dealt or played 2 to 3 attack cards or action cards during the last turn. So maybe a hypothetical scenario would be your other 2 Raptors after your initial attacks would back out, and then 1 would be somewhat within reach by your opponent. So more often than not, melee characters would have 2 movements. So Raptors have 3, so they would have to boost in order for them to attack. So that's another card wasted. Your opponent would attack. You would play this card, Decoy, immediately teleport 1 running Raptor back to its adjacency, and then you can set up your counter attack. That's a really amazing dynamic that the Decoy card has. And you have to remember that it's also a double-edged sword, because Raptors only have 10 cards for defenses, and this is basically 13% of your deck. It's a double-edged sword because if your opponent also gains actions, or if your opponent has dealing damage with adjacency like Wily Fighting or other Tomoe cards, the one that you have to deal 1 damage with their feint, Flash of Steel, you have to be careful with using Decoy as defense, or the timing of it. So you have to be careful with the timing of using Decoy. And moving on to the A tier. So only 4 cards left. So number 1 would be Super Strength. I'm kidding. It's Eviscerate. So this card can be up to 7 if you have the other 2 Raptors within the same adjacent space of your opponent. So you're basically Golden Bat, but better, I think. I mean, that's my take on it. Because, by the way, Raptors is very strong against Golden Bat. So careful, Golden Bat players. I am a Raptor guy. Shout out to Sir Russell, Golden Bat, and Raptors. Anyway, Eviscerate is basically, that's it. Super Strength. Blank 5, a Vanilla 5 with a potential of 7. You can never go wrong with this. And this is what you would love to have when your opponent plays a feint. So sometimes I juggle or switch my schemes of cards or schematic of cards, my system. I use this to attack in my second turn or in my second action, because they would expect that, oh, this is his second action. He will probably gain an action. I will feint this. But no, if you reveal the cards, you're looking at a 5 plus 2 or plus 1 attack against your measly 2 feint. So this card also makes or breaks the game, because if you don't deal enough damage, you're gonna lose. But if you do deal damage early on in the game, you're gonna win 90% of the time. So it's also just luck of the draw. But if you have this card early in the deck, early in your turns, in the early to mid game, you're in for a great ride, because your opponent has less cards to defend with. Your opponent would be forced to use their feints to defend your second attacks of the turn. So remember everyone, strength in numbers. Alright, for the next card, it would be, oops, this one, Ambush. So this card, I love this card. So Dracula also has this card. So during combat, when you attack, your opponent discards one random card, and then whatever boost value that card has would be added to this one. So imagine this card with the Raptor ability. Imagine you're dealing full value of 4, and then you discard a card from your opponent with a boost value of 2 or even 3, sometimes 4. And it's okay if you just boost with 1. Most likely that would be a feint or another card for their attack in return, like maybe a commanding impact. I think that's a boost value of 1. So discarding cards is always your friend against your opponents. When you discard your opponent's cards, it's great value for you. The less cards you have, as I keep repeating, the better chances you are of winning. So this ambush can do crazy numbers. I remember one time I discarded Big Reveal from Houdini, so that was my first action. I attacked with ambush. He defended with the movement or another blue card that Houdini has, and then I discarded a Big Reveal. So that's already his win con. So there's only 2 Big Reveals in his deck. So I already crippled Houdini from this ambush alone. And it's really sad if this gets fainted. So you have to be careful when to use this. That also could make or break your game. The perfect discard would easily grant you the free win. But a card that you discarded, let's say for Golden Bat, would be a punch to shake the earth. Maybe that's not the best card that you can discard, but your target would be the defenses of Golden Bat. That would be better. So yeah, Ambush is an amazing card. It's great against Little Red, just disrupt the tempo. It's great against Moon Knight, because you're just discarding a lot of high boost values from him. And Tesla as well, because Tesla is just a single fighter. You can just easily gang up on him and discard a lot of great value cards that Tesla has. And Winter Soldier, Daredevil, and Alice. Those are the characters on the top of my head that would be perfect to get ambushed. Alright, so and lastly, for the S tier, the best cards in the deck would be this one, Eaten Alive. So Eaten Alive, it's similar to She-Hulk's card. I think it's Green Monster Energy. Monsters, please sponsor us. I think it's similar to She-Hulk's card of the 4 versatile. If you want to combat, deal 1 damage to an adjacent fighter. This card is more often than not used as defense because it's the only full value block that you have. So you have to use this carefully and you have to time it perfectly. It can be lethal. You can win with this card by using it as an attack. So imagine a 6 card with +1 if you win the combat. You have to bank on damage. You have to bank on lethality because damage is your friend. Your goal is to knock out your opponent. So it's good to have this in your hand early, like in the first hand, your starting hand. This is perfect there because you will never know when your opponent will try to counterattack or when will you attack your opponent, which is all the time. So you just have to keep this in your hand at all times because you have to defend. You have to keep at least 2 Raptors alive to win the game because removing 1 off the board is really crippling, but you can still deal with a lot of damage with the other cards that you have. But protecting them in the early game is a must. It's really necessary to protect them. So you have to keep this as a value block for your opponent. And hey, if you win, you get a free 1 damage. But you can also use this as an attack, but I wouldn't recommend it. And yeah, you have to be careful. And the last card is best card in the game. The best card of the Raptors deck is Pack Hunters. So Pack Hunters is basically your win condition. Why is this the win condition? Because it's a value of 4. You only have 2 copies of this, so you have to be careful when to use this. Preferably, there's no more feints or no more value block for your opponent. But this card is really, really, really good. It's the best one that the Raptors have because it can go up to 6. Nobody could block 6 if you boost. I mean, yeah, you can boost to block it, but your opponents would most likely have, let's say, a skirmish. Let's say he laughs at enfeebleness even with a 5. Your opponent would easily take at least 2 damage from this. At least. So imagine this with the ability of 6, and then they blocked with a 3. They take 3 from the combat, and then they take 3 again for each other Raptor adjacent to it. So this is the best card that the Raptors have. It has auto damage, it has a big value attack, and it would be a shame if it would just be fainted. There comes to a point in the game that sometimes you can't get this early enough to deal lethality, to kill your opponent, but that's okay. You just have to be aggressive at all times, just like John Cena. Ruthless aggression, ruthless aggression, ruthless aggression. That's the point of the Raptors. If you don't kill them first, you're gonna lose. So yeah, so Pack Hunters and Eaten Alive are the best cards to have during the game, but you can set up with your other cards like the Ambush, the Remember, Working Things Out. You can use all of those cards to build up momentum for your final attack, for your final turn, or in other card games, they say that. So yeah, this is my personal take on the Raptors deck. I think the Feint should be higher. I mean, Feint is always good. I think I can put that in B, but I would just put him in the border between B and C. And then, to round it out, maps matter. So, it wouldn't be a character analysis without map analysis as well. So, maps matter. Move of 3 is amazing in all maps, but you want to target 2-player maps. Even if it's Azuchi Castle, even if it's Hiorot, it's okay because the move 3 is just so good. You have to remember that the 2-player maps would be easily in favor of you. But 3-player maps are also good as well because there's a lot of adjacency and a lot of ways for your Raptors to pin your opponents. Alright, so an example would be a Raptor Paddock, the T-Rex Paddock, Sanctum. You can utilize the items as well, but that's also a small map. Globe Theater also. But there are some pockets in Globe Theater that your opponent can run to, but that's only 2 adjacent spaces, so you can still do a +1 in your attack with the ability. But the Raptor, these 3 maps are really your domain, the Paddocks and the Sanctum. And always look for adjacency. You have to force your opponent to be pinned. You have to force your opponent in awkward positions or awkward angles when you attack, when you play the game. So you have to be wary of your position of the board. Sometimes there would be turns that your Raptors can't reach your opponent. Not all of your Raptors can reach your opponent. Sometimes they know how to maneuver in and out of your pins because there are some maps that have only one directions. Like, let's say, the bronze, there are spaces there that there's only one way out and one way in, so you have to be careful with that. And then you have to be aggressive at all times. Also, the first position has a massive advantage. The first position is king. That's my personal take, that if I'm first, more often than not, I would win when I use Raptors or even T-Rex for that matter. If you're an aggressive fighter, if you're an aggressive player like me, that you just throw random BS, go, or just attack. That's your game plan. Your plan of attack is attack. The first position is for you. The Raptors are a strong pick because of their speed, numbers, and ability to swarm. They do really well against characters like Golden Bat, She-Hulk, and Daredevil, who rely on big hits but can't get overwhelmed if pressured early. Tesla and Moon Knight also struggle since the Raptors can outmaneuver them and apply constant chip damage. And Little Red needs time to set up her symbols, but the Raptors don't give a damn. They don't give her room to breathe. Sherlock also, while great at mind games, can't really keep up when he's being pressured or being attacked from all sides. On the flip side, they have clear counters. Achilles is number 1. He punishes every attack, especially even when Patroclus is still alive. Bigfoot also. He's bulky. He has a lot of defenses. He has a lot of movements. Even Jackalope can soak up a lot of hits and swing back really hard. Medusa also controls space, board control, board presence. She controls it well, and her harpies can mess up the Raptors' positioning. Elektra also, in her second life, makes it harder to finish her off cleanly. And Sun Wukong also, similar with Medusa, with the board control, their clones, Sun Wukong's clones, make it hard to focus damage. So while the Raptors are really deadly in the right matchups, they can fall apart really fast if they can't control the pace. To conclude, kill them first before they kill you. And ruthless aggression. Some characters love setting tempo, some characters play slow. use that as your advantage. Sherlock, for that matter, he has Raptors is really really good against Sherlock, so I am not afraid of Sherlock, even if he's like part of the global ban or the big three. In tournaments, if Sherlock is available, a lot of players would bring it, but you can easily kill Sherlock before he does all of his shenanigans with the schemes. And even if he does it with the schemes, he uses his schemes to deal damage or even kill a Raptor, he has a low hand count. So better you than him to go out of the board first. Also, you have to remember that the starting hand really depends on your position. So if you're starting second, better to have a scheme card with you, decoy, a feint, and an eaten alive. Basically all of your defensive cards, you should always have it in your hand when you're going second. But if you're going first, at least 2 defenses would be great, because even after you set up your attacks, even if you attack twice or thrice during the first turn, you will have most likely 1 to 2 cards in hand, and you have to prepare for counter attack, because let's face it, your character would be a sitting duck or a sitting raptor. Okay, and then for drafting, my draft pattern for Raptors would be some people really don't mind playing against Raptors because they're range characters or even strong melee brawlers like Bigfoot, Achilles. So those are the characters that you should be wary of, or you should be careful, because they would easily kill you in 1 turn. They can easily kill you in just 2 attacks, because your highest value of defense is 4 and there's only 3 copies of that, and then you have to expect that your character would just eat a lot of damage. So you deal a lot, you get a lot in return. So you have to be careful. Yeah, so basically that's it. That's my own take on my favorite characters deck, my own style, and how I play it out during tournaments here in the Philippines. And I would love for your comments and suggestions. And give us your comments and suggestions for this first for this character deck analysis, and we would surely consider them and take it into heart. So yeah, thank you guys.